All right, so you've probably seen this term sovereign AI popping up everywhere, but what does it really mean? Well, let me tell you, it's way more than just a buzzword. It's actually becoming a huge national priority. So today, we're going to break down exactly why getting absolute independence in this new generative age is, well, absolutely critical. And this quote, it gets right to the heart of the matter. In a world that's being completely reshaped by artificial intelligence, controlling your own models, your data, your entire digital future, that isn't just a nice to have. It's the ultimate form of power. So let's dive into the stakes here. We are at a truly pivotal moment. Nations and major companies have this real but pretty limited window of opportunity to define their entire future. And honestly, the stakes couldn't be higher. And look, this isn't some trend that's way off in the future. We're talking about right now. All over the globe, governments and huge industries are investing billions, just pouring massive resources into building their own AI capabilities. This has basically become the new geopolitical high ground. This right here shows the massive shift in how we think about this stuff. Data centers, they're not just warehouses full of servers anymore. No way. They're now correctly seen as the absolute bedrock of digital independence, of national security, and even long-term economic stability. Okay, but here's where things get a little complicated. See, a lot of organizations think they've already got the sovereignty thing figured out, but they might be operating under a really dangerous illusion. Let's dig into why just controlling where your data is located, it just isn't enough. You know, this is how most people think about it. The logic, it seems simple, right? Hey, my data is on a server inside my country's borders, even if it's managed by a third party, so it's secure and I'm in control. It's a comforting idea, for sure, but it's dangerously flawed. So that forces us to ask the big question. Does that border-based approach really, truly guarantee the kind of absolute independence we're talking about? I mean, when you're relying on external systems and someone else's management, are you ever really fully in control? This slide really lays out the two different paths you can take. Over here on one side, you've got rented privacy. This is when you're using someone else's cloud, which means you've got hidden dependencies and you're fundamentally relying on outsiders. But on the other side, you've got hard isolation, and that is the gold standard. We're talking absolute independence, full direct control because you manage the infrastructure yourself, no strings attached. So, how do you actually get to that true hard isolation? Well, the best way to think about it is like you're building a digital fortress, one that's designed to be completely impenetrable. Let's take a look at how this fortress is built, layer by protective layer. Every good fortress needs layers, right? It all starts with the foundation. This is about owning your operations, managing your own control planes so you're not dependent on anybody. Next, you need the guards. This means autonomous security that can find and fix vulnerabilities all on its own without having to call for outside help. And finally, you have the inner sanctum. This is where your AI models and data live, in a completely private experience, making sure nothing ever leaks out. And hey, this isn't just a metaphor. It's built with real technology. That foundation? It relies on self-managed orchestration systems. The guards are powered by what's called agentic vulnerability remediation. It's kind of like having a 24/7 robotic security team that finds and fixes problems before a human even knows they exist. And that inner sanctum is created using private on-premise AI platforms, which means your AI models and your data, they literally never leave the building. Now, building this fortress, it's not just a defensive move. It's really about proactively owning your future. So let's look at the powerful promises that a truly sovereign generative AI platform can actually deliver. So what's the big payoff? Well, you get complete on-premises control, zero data leakage, the freedom to use any open source model you want, and the ability to get all of this up and running in weeks, not years. These four promises are a total game changer. Of all those promises, this one is probably the most powerful. Zero. It's an absolute. When you achieve true sovereignty, you can finally guarantee that your sensitive data, your proprietary models, your most valuable intellectual property never ever leaves your control. Period. And that brings us to the final, really critical takeaway. We've got to stop thinking about this as just a problem for the IT department. By 2026, this is going to evolve from a technical goal into a core strategic mandate for every single leader out there. This pretty much says it all. The decisions being made right now about AI infrastructure are going to define the winners and losers of tomorrow. The ability to innovate without worrying about IP theft, to secure your critical infrastructure without relying on foreign tech, this isn't just an IT strategy, it's a national one.
So, I'll leave you with this question. Looking ahead to 2026, what is sovereignty going to mean for your organization? Are you going to settle for the rented privacy of the past, or are you going to demand the absolute, independent control that the future requires?